All right. All right, so I got a couple questions for you, Jonathan. All right, you want to answer them?
I'm gonna start with saying my name is Jonathan Koch. My partner here is Michael Crispino,
Michael Crispino.
and he wanted to interview me for the Long Island Youth Summit.
All right, so here's the first question. Is prescription drug abuse a big problem for teens?
Prescription drug abuse is a huge problem for teens for many reasons. First of all, over 30,000 people die a year from drug overdoses, as well as 1 out of every 24 teenagers being addicted to a prescription drug. And that being the use of drugs or mainly prescription drugs.
All right, I got another question. What prescription drugs are most commonly abused by teens?
The most common prescription drugs that are abused by teens include Valium, Xanax, sleep aids, Adderall, Concerta, ADHD drugs. Those are the ones that stimulate you in order to boost your academic performance. Oxycodone, Vicodin, codeine's pretty popular as well. A lot of the mainstream drugs that you hear about in like the songs by like rappers and hip hop artists that they talk about. Just anything that has to do with getting high, like Xanax, Adderall, stuff like that.
All right, another one. How do they usually obtain the medications and drugs?
They actually either steal them from their parents or they know kids who can get them from their parents.
Of course.
And they take them from whoever they get them from, and they take them thinking that it's like, oh, what is this going to do to me? It's prescribed. It's healthy.
Yeah.
It's supposed to help me.
It's meant for that person.
It's meant for that person, and I'm just taking it. Or they'll have a headache, and they'll be like, my headache hurts. Let me take my mom's Xanax because she takes them all the time, and she talks about how her head hurts all the time.
Of course. All right, another one.
Yeah.
All right, another question. Okay. What are some signs that teens are abusing prescription drugs?
A lot of the time when a teen is abusing drugs, his mood, personality, and his friend circle will change. Yeah. Those are the main three. You'll also find missing medication around the house, along with really poor school performance, changes in your sleep habits, unexplained needs for money, like if you see stuff missing, again, if you not only like drugs, but like if you see your jewelry start going, some expensive necklace that you own that's gone, or known like gold. If you always want to be checking up on like the expensive parts of your house if you suspect that your kid or your teen is using drugs. Injuries, reasons, you catch them lying a lot, stuff like that. Just simple things, but the really main ones that everyone will happen to everyone who has a teenager that is abusing drugs is that they'll notice changes in the mood and the personality, and especially the circle of friends that they enjoy hanging out with.
All right, another question. What are the misconceptions about prescription drug abuse? Let's go back onto that.
A lot of the misconceptions about prescription drug abuse is that the fact that it comes from a doctor, the fact that it comes from like it's supposed to help aids with something, the fact that it's supposed to help you, like that's why that these drugs are prescribed. A lot of people don't realize the dangers that could come along with them. Even if you're prescribed the drugs and you take them the wrong way, there's always bad parts about that too. Like if you're prescribed a drug, let's say they tell you to take it once a day and you take it twice a day because it makes you feel good, then you start to build a dependence and a need for that drug. And you should always use the drugs as instructed by a doctor, and definitely never use prescription or even over-the-counter drug without either consulting your doctor first or consulting the bottle to make sure that you're using it right. Go for it.
All right, another. What are the short-term and long-term impacts of abusing prescription drugs?
Some short-term effects of prescription drug abuse includes loss of appetite, your heart rate being increased, your blood pressure will go up, body temperature will either go down or up depending on what drugs they're using. Pupils will dilate or constrict a decent amount. Your sleep patterns will be thrown off. You'll experience either nausea, bizarre, erratic, or even violent behavior, especially with parents and siblings. It could cause hallucinations, hyperexcitability, irritability, panic, even psychosis. And what are the common misconceptions about prescription drug abuse?
Common misconceptions. All right. So one of them is people think that it's a prescription, that it's not that bad. It's actually not safe at all. If you don't follow the directions on the bottle, it is not smart. And if you're using someone else's that isn't yours, it could be really bad. Just because it's good for somebody else doesn't mean it's good for you, because it was prescribed to them for a reason, and they need their doctor's permission, and you need your doctor's permission. If you need a drug that bad, you have to go to the doctor and get it.
What type of resources and services are available for teens who experience prescription drug abuse?
Okay, so one thing is you could speak to a therapist. That's like the first thing you should do, honestly. Your parents, like, if you should be open to talking to your parents, and it'll be easier to get over it. And you shouldn't be ashamed that you're addicted to something. It's not your fault. This is what drugs do. But yeah, so therapist is one. Obviously talk it over, and yeah. Another one is you can go to rehab. Many people do that. It's for adults and teens. They have a lot of programs. Those are definitely very helpful. It'll keep you away from the drugs, and it'll help you start fresh, kind of. All right. Another one is they have, if you have an alcohol problem, they have AA meetings. You meet with a group of people that have the same problem as you. There's many people that do AA that you wouldn't even know do AA, but they do. And that's very helpful because you're all together and you all have the same problem. Anything else? They got hotlines, all right? So what they have is you can call on the phone. They have a hotline for literally everything. But one of them is drug abuse, so you can speak to somebody that has a lot of knowledge on it. Yeah. So yeah, that's good.
Do you know anyone who has ever abused prescription drugs?
I don't know about prescription drugs. I know actually a lot of people do lean, you could buy that in this, you could buy cough syrup in the store. The rappers talk about it, big thing. But not really prescription medications. It's more of people that have alcohol problems or drug problems, people that go to the hospital for stuff. Yeah. What else? What other questions you got?
What are some main reasons that teens abuse drugs?
Well, I think a big one is stress. A lot of teens go through stuff in high school. A lot of stuff goes on. It's a big school, you know. So yeah. They might be having problems at home. So a lot of kids that have drug problems are they come from a house where it's not very stable. It's not always the case. It could be someone that has a perfectly fine house, but that's one thing. Yeah. What else?
What do you think that communities can do to reduce the amount of students and teenagers that abuse drugs?
Can you just pause it?
What do you think our communities could do to bring more awareness and preventative measures to teenagers taking prescription drugs?
Well, I think they shouldn't be scared to show the kids the real cost. Like one thing that some communities do is like if someone like had a problem and was drinking and driving and crashed, sometimes they put the car right in front of the school to show everybody. That's like one thing I could think of. Another thing is like when they have someone come in, sometimes they have like some like weird person that like says a bunch of facts that don't sound true. But I think they should focus on bringing somebody in that actually went through it. So like they could actually see it face to face and not just hear about it. So like maybe someone comes in that had a problem with heroin that got over it. That's a big one. Like that would be good. But yeah, I don't think they do a really good job when they bring people into school. Like I had this guy come in and he was saying, "Oh, I got a 12-year-old that drinks half a bottle of," what did he say? Half a bottle of gin a day. Yeah, that's not true. You would die, actually. So that's I just wish they had more truthfulness when they come in. I think. So yeah.